All right, here I'm going to walk you through the steps of setting up your employer's 401k. All right, if your employer is using Fidelity as their main brokerage for your 401k, this is the steps that you're going to follow. All right, if you already have a Fidelity account from a previous employer or from whatever other investing that you might have done, you'll just go ahead and sign in on here. If you have not had an account, with them before, you can click on here where it says need help, and then from need help, you can just go ahead and register now. All right, you would click on there, register for using Fidelity, and it would automatically sync you up into using the plan that your employer has for you. Okay, since I already have a account with them, I'm going to go ahead and sign in. All right, and when you sign in, it'll take you to the portal for your employer. If it doesn't take you to the one that is for your current employer, but because you have previous employers with Fidelity, just click on the menus option, and then you'll see previous employers that are on here. Just select the one that it is that you want to currently update and get up and running. So we're going to scroll down, and we're going to see what we have on here for our retirement plans. We're going to view the details. We have 2 that we need to enroll for. If you just have 1, that is fine. Just click on enroll. All right, so here, this is a spot that you want to avoid. Don't go for the easy enrollment. If you go for the easy enrollment, it's just going to set you up on some age-based 401ks that don't usually perform as well as other options. All right, you want to take the time, set up your 401k the right way. Come over here to where it says standard enrollment. Click on standard enrollment. Here it goes over some of the steps. You're going to set your contributions, choose your investments, consolidate your retirements. Here's the retirements you're going to pick from. You're going to click on begin. Okay, so on this one here, you're going to go ahead and you're going to see what your employer offers. And currently for this particular one plan here, their employer is offering a 3% match. If you want to receive 100% of their match, you want to put at least at a minimum 3% to be able to get theirs as well. Here, this one right here is up to you. At a minimum, I would say put in 3% of what your pay is, so that way you can get everything dollar for dollar for what they matches. All right, if you want to contribute more than that, that's fine. There's plenty of financial advisors, as you can see here in this note, that they'll say that they recommend to start at least with 15% is what a lot of people recommend. This is up to you from what you can afford or not afford. At a bare minimum, I would say put in what your employer is matching, and if you can contribute more than that, then perfect, because the reality is the more you contribute, the more your retirement will grow. So if you are able to contribute up to 15%, then go ahead and submit the up to 15%. For now, for this example, I'll just stick to what the employer is currently offering, which is 3% there. I'll put 3% on Roth and 3% for the bonus Roth. Now the 2 options here is pre-tax, which this is known as a traditional 401k, and this is the Roth 401k. All right, the difference between here is that on the Roth, you will get taxed on your income now, and then the money that goes into your Roth will be money that was already taxed, so it will be clean money. So that means as your 401k grows, whatever amount it is that it grows up to, let's say for example, if it grows up to $1 million in your 401k by the time you retire, that money is 100% tax free. As you take it out, you do not pay taxes on it anymore because you've already paid the taxes for the Roth 401k. The pre-tax or traditional is a little opposite. The pre-tax, you invest the money into your 401k before it gets taxed, because some people want a little bit more money to go in, so that way the 401k grows a little faster because they're doing pre-tax money. The problem is with this one here is that if you fall within a higher tax bracket when you go to retire, now you will be paying a higher tax amount than what you currently are. All right, so that's just something that you have to keep in mind when you choose which one you go for. If you believe that you're going to fall in a higher tax bracket when you retire because you'll be wealthier by that time, then it benefits you to do a Roth 401k. If you think you're going to fall within a lower tax bracket for whatever reason, then it would probably benefit you to do the pre-tax 401k. Now, currently, since I believe that my 401k grows, I will fall within a higher tax bracket later on on when I'm go to retire. So I'm going to go ahead and choose right now to just do a Roth 401k. So for this example, I'm just going to stick to the 3% to match over here. You could always make adjustments to your 401ks whenever you want. So just because you put 3% here now doesn't mean that next month you can't go ahead and change it to 15%, 5%, or whatever the case might be. So for now, let's go ahead and click on continue. Now keep in mind that as time goes by, you can go ahead and, let's say for example, you start off at 3 or 5%, you go 2 months, like that, you can go ahead after, for example, a month or two, you can increase it another percent, and then after a month or two, you can increase it another percent, and then you can work your way up to the 15% if that's what you want. You have multiple options to pick from there. Okay, so here's another important spot that we're going to go into. Here it goes into enroll into a managed account, go with a target date fund, or choose your own investments. You're going to get your biggest return on this one right here. Choose your own investments. Clicked on select investments. And then these are some of the investments that are currently available to you, okay, from your employer and through Fidelity. As we scroll all these, one of the biggest things that we're going to look for is that we're going to look for a fund that has history. Okay, so here's your AR, stands for average annual return. Here's average annual return for 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, and the life of the fund. So as you're looking on these, you're going to look at the 10-year average return is the one that I normally look at. I want to normally see a fund that's been around for at least 10 years, and I'm going to compare the percentages. I'm going to look to see this one now. The S&P, this one's based off the S&P 500. It's been around since 1988. All right, since 1988, it has currently a 10-year return of 16.2. The next one that might be close to it is this one over here. This one's been around since 1997. It has a 10-year average return of 15.39. Okay, as we continue looking down, we see that there's no other real options that actually get close to it that do just as good. The first one here that you could possibly compare it to is the age-based ones. Right now, the age-based average 10-year return is 12.39. This is one of the main reasons I stay away from these age-based retirement funds, because the returns on them are just not as good when you compare them side by side to other products. So in comparison, this age-based fund here pretty much started at the same time period as the S&P 500. As you can see, the S&P 500 has been outperforming the age-based fund in all aspects. So let's just go ahead and open up S&P 500 to take a closer look at it. One of the great things about the S&P 500 is that all these funds have an expense ratio, okay? And the expenses that you see here is pretty much 15 cents per every $1,000. So every $1,000 you have invested, you have an expense ratio of 15 cents when you invest into this type of fund for the S&P 500, the 500 index fund. Okay, as you can see here, this is just a graph of what it would look like if you would have invested $10,000 back in 2011 time period. If you would have invested $10,000 back in 2011 and you want to compare it to what the numbers would look like right now, if you would have invested in this type of fund, those $10,000 would have turned into $44,891. Okay, so that's how you read it. So the S&P 500 is the main category, and this particular fund is tailored, replicated after the S&P 500. So as you can see, the numbers are very similar to it. We'll just continue scrolling down, and here you can see the top 10 holdings. When you invest into this particular fund, you are investing into 500 companies, and out of the 500 companies, these 10 right here are the top 10 companies that are on there. So we have Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Alphabet A and Alphabet C, which these two right here are part of Google, is what these are part of. All right, Tesla, Nvidia, Berkshire Hathaway, and JP Morgan. So these are your top 10. So as long as these top 10 companies are doing outstanding, are doing good, your retirement fund is safe. And that is 28% of your portfolio fall within here. The other 72% of your portfolio are part of the other 490 companies that fall within the S&P 500. So actually, as you can see here, there's 508 total holdings that are on here. Okay, these are your top 10, and then the other 72% fall within the other top companies. So the chances of you investing into this and your money being lost is very, very, very low. I mean, you are investing in the top 500 companies of the US, okay? So as you can see here, your returns are above average and your expenses are very low. Your risk factor is around the medium area. Let's go into another great thing about the S&P 500 is the performance and risk. Let's check that out. So as we scroll down, this is just some more comparisons, some more information that's on here. But one of the biggest things that you want to look for is towards the very bottom, okay? This right here, dividend. This is one of the best things about the S&P 500, all right? This is for every share that you have, they'll pay you a dividend, as well. On a yearly basis, quarterly basis, you see that different funds will be paying out dividends. When you look at the dividends for the S&P 500 and compared to some of the other investments, the S&P 500 usually beats out the rest. So this is just like a bonus check that you'll end up receiving on top of that. So let's say if you have X amount of shares, and then they'll take those shares, multiply it by this amount, and that'll be the extra dividend that you'll be deposited into your 401k. So this is another amount of free money that goes into your account. All right, so now that we've looked at the different options, you understand where you always look for the 10-year average. We see that the S&P 500 compared to all these other options that are available on here, the S&P 500 gives the best return so far. So we'll go ahead and select that we want 100% of our funds deposited into the Fidelity 500 index. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and scroll down, click continue. All right, so here's on reviewing your information. You could review it now if you want, which just has information about this particular fund. And if you want to take your time and go ahead and look over it, but this goes over some of the information that I just briefly covered, which talks about the management fee, which is very low compared to other funds. And it's just, an overall information of everything about the fund. So you have multiple tabs on here that you can go ahead and select and look over. By all means, I highly encourage you to look over this because you always want to be fully informed of where your money is being invested. All right, so going back to here, we've already viewed it, so we'll go ahead and continue. All right, so here at the moment it says Roth 401k, bonus 401k. For example purposes, I just set it up to the 3, so that way we can see if we can get into 3. You can go ahead and add as you want. As I explained earlier, you can start off at 3 and every month keep adding an extra percentage, or you can go straight to 5, 10, 15, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with as far as for investing. And it is going, 100% of it is going towards the Fidelity 500 index, which is based off the S&P 500. So we'll click on submit. All right, so it says you are now enrolled in your company 401k, confirmation number, email, and then if you have additional plans that you could enroll, you can go ahead and enroll into additional plans. If you don't have additional plans, you could just go ahead and continue. All right, so now that you have your 401k initially set up with your employer, you have the option to do a rollover. So if you have a retirement account with another employer, you can go ahead and go through a process here of moving your money from your other employer on over to your new employer. Okay, so here you have the option on here where it says move money to plan into the retirement plan, or you could move it into an IRA. All right, so you could either move it from your previous employer, bring it over to Fidelity and roll that into your current 401k, or you could roll it into a new IRA. All right, those are your options. Me personally, whenever I move money from my previous employer, I move it into an IRA. And the main reason I roll it into an IRA is because an IRA gives me more places to invest. As you saw when we did the example on this one here, there was only X amount of options to pick from, and the top one was the S&P 500 index. If you want to have more options, then I would recommend rolling any old 401k from a previous employer into a Fidelity Roth IRA. Okay, so roll it over here. If you have a traditional from another employer, your only option is to roll it into a traditional IRA. Okay, just make sure that when you talk to your previous employer, find out if it's a traditional or Roth, and then roll that over into a IRA here with Fidelity. Okay, remove it from your old one, bring it to the new one, put it into an IRA, and let your current 401k with your current employer just grow where it's at. So I hope this helps. If you guys found any value in this video, please give the video a thumbs up. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to ask them down in the comments. Okay, I'll be putting out more information about 401ks, IRAs, and additional financial information. So if you want more information, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and keep an eye out. Take care. God bless.